What if I told you that every second you spend drifting without pushing, without purpose, is not just time wasted, it's a quiet betrayal. A betrayal of the life you could be living. It's not fate. It's not bad luck. It's you. You are the one placing the chains on your own growth, while you keep repeating excuses. Your potential is quietly slipping away. There is no enemy more dangerous than the comfort that wears the mask of routine. And while you sleepwalk through your days, the clock doesn't wait. So wake up, because every step you don't take today is a regret waiting to greet you tomorrow. This isn't one of those feel-good videos filled with soft quotes and empty reassurance. No, today, you're going to face some hard truths. The kind that sting, the kind that challenge, the kind that split you open between who you are and who you were meant to become. We're diving into 10 Stoic lessons not to decorate your mind with inspiration, but to light a fire under your habits, to shake you into action, to make you earn every second you breathe. You don't need more time. You don't need more tools. What you truly need is the courage to stop making excuses. Because every second you choose mediocrity, every moment you settle, is gone forever. And it's not coming back. So ask yourself, are you ready to stop existing and start living with purpose? Then stay right here, because what's coming next will not comfort you. It will challenge you. But before we begin, let me tell you a story. The story of Dario. He was 29. On the surface, everything looked fine. A steady job, a decent apartment, friends, weekend beers, a life without chaos, and also a life without fire. Every time someone asked how he was doing, he'd smile and say, "Yeah, all good." He wasn't lying, but he wasn't telling the truth either, because the truth, Dario had been on pause for years, talking about starting a business, but never even writing a plan, dreaming of moving abroad, but not even renewing his passport, saying he'd start writing, working out, learning something new, but every day was the same loop. Wake up, scroll, work, dinner, TV, sleep, repeat. Until one day, he muttered aloud, "I just feel like I'm not moving forward." A friend shrugged and replied, "Maybe it's because you're not walking." They laughed, but the words echoed inside him like a warning bell. He didn't lack time, he lacked momentum. He lacked the will to follow through. And now's not the time, he'd whisper to himself, "Later, when I'm more ready." But that mythical ready never came. And somewhere deep down, he knew it never would. Until one quiet Thursday, the phone rang. It was his mother. Her voice was trembling. "Your dad had a heart attack." No dramatic breakdown, just his silent car ride, a hospital room, the rhythmic beeping of a machine. And then, the words that end childhood forever. His father, his pillar, gone without goodbye. Dario didn't scream. He didn't cry. He just stopped. A few days later, while helping his mom gather some of his dad's belongings, he found an old showbox tucked deep in the back of a closet. Inside that showbox was more than just memorabilia. It was a window into a life that had quietly waited and never begun. Among the papers was a list: learn Italian, revisit the city where I met your mother, Write a letter to my brother. A brother he hadn't spoken to in years. And then, at the very bottom of the page, in handwriting that had started to fade with time, a small paragraph, one that pierced through Dario like lightning. Sometimes I feel like Dario has something big inside, but it's fading because he's not moving. I hope he realizes it before it's too late. Dario stared at those words like they were a shattered mirror, because that's exactly what they were, a reflection of the version of himself he had refused to face. He didn't feel guilt. He felt something far sharper. Reality. Reality for the dreams left untouched. For the words he never wrote. For the excuses he wore like armor, convincing himself they were facts. That night, Dario didn't sleep. He sat in front of his computer, in silence, and then he typed a single sentence: I won't let another second slip by. No master plan, no grand gesture, just a decision. But sometimes that's all it takes. He began small. 2 months later, he quit his job not out of impulse, but with unwavering conviction. He started writing every morning. He enrolled in an online course, sold the clutter he no longer needed, and then he booked a one-way ticket to Portugal. He didn't have a roadmap, but he went. Not everything went smoothly. He made mistakes. He doubted himself. There were days he felt completely lost, days he wanted to crawl back into comfort. But here's the difference this time. He kept moving, even with fear, even with uncertainty. He was no longer standing still. A year later, someone asked him, "How are you doing?" And for the first time in his life, he didn't say, "I'm fine." He said, "I'm growing." And he meant it. Every word. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Time is like a river made up of the events that happen and a violent current. For as soon as something is seen, it is swept by and another comes in its place. And this too will be swept away." Dario learned this truth the hard way, but not too late. He finally understood that life doesn't wait. It doesn't freeze while you figure things out. Every second you ignore, it doesn't hang around for you to catch up. It's gone, swept away by the river. And with it, all the chances you didn't take. All the words you never said, all the days you wasted getting ready. Dario discovered his worst enemy wasn't time. It wasn't lack of talent or bad luck. It was stillness, his own stillness, the kind that dresses up as caution, the kind that calls cowardice logic. And what about you? How many seconds have you let the current carry away? How many times have you whispered, "I'll start tomorrow," knowing full well tomorrow never comes? This video isn't here to make you feel guilty. It's here to wake you up. Because if you don't force yourself to grow, if you don't force yourself to change, no one else will do it for you. And every second you let drift by, unused, unlived, is a second the river steals from you forever. Before we continue, if this message is hitting something real inside you, consider subscribing and becoming an exclusive member. You'll get access to special content and, more importantly, you'll be supporting ideas that matter. Now tell me in the comments, have you ever felt like there's something powerful inside you, waiting to break free, but something keeps holding you back? Or just write this: "Today I choose to stop waiting. I choose to move forward second by second. Let that be your promise to yourself. Stop trusting your excuses, because they sound so familiar, don't they? I don't have time. I'm too tired. Now's not the right moment. They sound reasonable, but they are invisible chains. And every time you repeat them, you tighten them. You think you're describing your reality, but really, you're just justifying your stagnation. And the worst part? You say these things like they're absolute facts, like you've run them through some kind of cold, rational analysis, but they're not facts. They're just excuses. Excuses dressed up in the costume of truth. It's like living inside a prison with bars made of paper. From a distance, it looks impenetrable, solid. You tell yourself, I can't break out. I'm trapped by my circumstances. There's no way out. But stop for a moment. Really look. Those bars, they're weightless. They're made from nothing but thin pages folded over years of fear. Each one written with a line you've told yourself 1,000 times, I'm not good at this. It's too late to start. And here's the saddest truth: you built those bars, brick by brick, excuse by excuse. You built the very cell that now keeps you stuck. In the beginning, you knew it wasn't real, but over time, you got used to it. You memorized its walls. You stopped testing its limits. You started believing that it was all you could be. But the Stoics saw this coming centuries ago. Epictetus warned, it's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them. What's really holding you back? It's not the obstacle. It's the story you keep telling yourself about the obstacle. Your excuses don't describe reality. They describe your comfort zone's version of reality. And as long as you keep treating those excuses like laws, you'll stay in the prison you built with your own hands. Now picture the sigh you decide to start waking up early because you know it'll give you more focus, more clarity, more time. But then you say, I'm just not a morning person. And you repeat it like a fact, like it's written in your DNA. But later that night, you stay up until 2 a.m., mindlessly watching videos you won't even remember tomorrow. So, let's be honest, can't you wake up early? Or do you just not want to deal with the discomfort of changing? It's not just you. There's actually a name for this mental friction. Dan Coe explains it well. He says your mind, when it senses something that might pull you out of your comfort zone, invents reasons not to act. That's mental friction. These aren't just random excuses. They're defense mechanisms. Your brain is trying to protect you from change because anything unfamiliar feels like a threat. So instead of saying, this is uncomfortable, it tells you, this isn't for me. And that is where the self-deception begins. Dan offers a simple strategy: catch yourself. Catch yourself in that precise, razor-thin moment when you start justifying. That split second when you say, I'll do it later. I can't today. Maybe tomorrow. That's the breaking point. Let it pass, and you fall back into the old cycle. But catch it, and you can break it. So let me ask you, are you really going to keep repeating the same old stories? Or are you ready to force yourself to grow even when it hurts? Even when it's uncomfortable second by second? If you're ready to move forward, you'll need to rewrite your own narrative. To do that, here are 3 things you can start doing. Today, first write down your most common excuses, one by one. No filters. Then, next to each one, write what a Stoic would reply. For example, excuse, I'm tired. Response, then work slower. But don't stop. Excuse, I don't have time. Response, then make space. Prioritize. Time exists, you're just not where you need to be. Second, record yourself saying your excuses out loud, but use an exaggerated, theatrical voice. Like you're in a play. Play it back. Listen to the words you've been saying. When you create even a little distance from your excuses, you begin to hear how absurd they sound. I don't have time. I'm not ready. This just isn't me. When you get that space, it clicks. You're not stuck. You're just stuck in a script. And now it's time to break it. Third tip, every single time you catch yourself reaching for another excuse, do one micro action. Just 1 push-up, send one message, open that file you've been avoiding for weeks. You don't have to finish the race today, but you do have to take the first step. Because even the tiniest action has more force, more energy than the most well-crafted excuse. And I'll leave you with this thought: what if the excuse isn't real? What if the biggest threat to your life is you, the quiet saboteur, the one who, every time an excuse is repeated, chooses not to grow? This life, it doesn't wait. So the next time your mind whispers, you can't answer like Seneca would while you hesitate, life pauses, and it slips away, second by second. Now imagine this: you wake up one morning, walk toward your front door, and see a giant boulder blocking the way, a massive rock. Like the universe is telling you you're not going anywhere. You push it. Nothing. Try to roll it. Impossible. Days go by. It's still there. Until one day, maybe out of boredom, you pick up a small hammer and hit the boulder once. Nothing happens. The next day, you hit it again and again. Every day, just one small strike. Still, nothing dramatic. But a week later, a crack. A month later, the crack deepens. And then, one day, with one final strike, the rock splits. You step outside. You're free. That's how growth actually works. Not in sudden bursts. Not in Monday morning hype. But in quiet persistence. In daily hammer strikes. Indecisions so small, they seem pointless until they aren't. Marcus Aurelius said it simply: don't waste what's left of your life wondering how to live it. Just live. And living isn't just breathing. It's moving forward, even if it's only a single inch. Even if no one claps. Even if it feels like nothing's changing. Because something is changing. You are. Today, you can make one small, powerful decision. Drink one more glass of water. Take a 10-minute walk without your phone. Say no to something and don't feel guilty about it. Is that revolutionary? No. But it's progress, and every single step you take, no matter how invisible, is a way of forcing yourself to grow second by second. Even if the results haven't shown up yet, most people never change because they think it needs to be huge. They think their life has to transform in some dazzling explosion. But it doesn't. You just need to get 1% better every day. That's it. 1%. You know what that adds up to in a year. 37% better. Not from miracles, not from revelations, but from repetition. This isn't about motivation. It's about a system. And if you don't believe it, let me tell you about someone who lived it. No excuses. Ashcharya Paris, a fashion designer from Sri Lanka. She lost her sight in a terrorist attack. In 1 second, her entire world went dark. So, what did she do? What she could. She learned Braille, restructured how she worked, began to visualize in her mind what she once did with her eyes. Second by second. She adapted. She adjusted. She rebuilt. And today, she's recognized as the first blind fashion designer in her country. No magic, no shortcuts, just small, steady, powerful decisions. With daily hammer strikes. That's how things truly change. But let me ask you something, my friend. Are you waiting for some massive transformation? Some big breakthrough? And yet you still haven't made your bed. Still haven't replied to that one email you've been avoiding for weeks. Still haven't picked up the clothes draped over that chair from 3 days ago. Because real change doesn't begin when you buy a course or make a dramatic promise to the universe. It starts when you do the little things, the ones you're secretly ashamed to admit you've been ignoring. What actually works isn't some magical motivation. It's systems, simple, reliable, repeatable systems that support you on your worst days. Start a habit tracker, but don't track 10 things, just 3. The 3 most important things. And even when you miss a day, keep tracking. This isn't about control. It's about awareness. It's about being radically honest with yourself. Seeing without excuses whether you're moving forward or standing still. Whether you're actually growing, even just a little. Because when you strip away the noise, you'll realize you don't need to change everything. You just need to change something every single day. And don't overlook the ordinary days. Not the big wins. Not the highlight reels. The normal, repetitive, quiet days. Because those are the invisible bricks of the life you dream about. The person who expects every day to feel inspiring ends up stuck waiting for a spark that never comes while everyone else is out there building. So next time you say, I want to change my life, don't look to the sky hoping for a sign. Look at your feet. What step are you taking today? Right here, right now. And if you truly want this to be the moment, the one where it all starts to shift, then say it. Write it in the comments. Speak it out loud. Sometimes, putting it into words is your first act of courage. And remember, you're not walking alone. We're here, walking beside you. Get out of your comfort zone and tell me something. When was the last time you truly did something uncomfortable? When was the last time you stepped outside your routine without a plan, without control, without certainty? Be honest. Do you realize that in the name of rest, you're often just choosing to stay stuck? Because yes, comfort is deceptive. At first, it feels like peace, like a well-earned pause, safety, stability. But stay in it too long, and it becomes an anchor. Comfort, my friend, isn't always rest. Sometimes it's resignation in disguise. Now picture this: a child stands inside, face pressed against the window. Outside, the sun is shining. There's a park full of laughter, running, falling, and getting back up. But the child stays inside, watching. Why? Because he's scared. Scared to get dirty. Scared to fall. Scared to lose. scared not to know how to play. And you, watching from outside, what would you say to him? Would you say, stay inside, where it's safe, or would you encourage him to step out into the world? Exactly. So why not do the same for yourself? Force yourself to move. Even if your steps are messy. Even if you're scared. Even if it doesn't look graceful. Because if you don't work on yourself right now, in this exact moment no one else will. Seneca said it clearly. Difficulty strengthens the mind, as labor strengthens the body. And that kind of difficulty doesn't live on your couch. It lives out there in what you don't control, in what you're afraid to try. Can you imagine Seneca sitting in his home, draped in his Roman robe, saying, maybe I'll write something tomorrow? Not a chance. In fact, Seneca practiced discomfort. He slept on the floor, wore ragged clothes, walked the streets, enduring mockery and judgment. Why? Because he knew the soul only grows when it faces discomfort. He knew that if you don't force yourself to grow, life will eventually force you to break. But hey, you don't need to travel back to ancient Rome to find an example of facing discomfort. Just look in the mirror. How many times have you said it? I want to live in another country. And yet you keep repeating the same story. It's not the right time. I just need to save a little more. I need someone to come with me. But no, what you really need is to move. Because comfort will always hand you a list of reasons a mile long. Excuses that feel logical, mature, responsible. But courage only needs one. If any of this sounds like you need to hear what Stephen Bartlett says on his podcast, The Diary of a CEO. He talks about this exact moment, this tension between what you want and what you keep avoiding. He says real success begins when you feel uncomfortable. And he's absolutely right. Because growth and comfort can't live in the same room. If you're feeling too comfortable, it probably means you haven't grown in a long time. So are you ready to take action? To stop fantasizing and start moving? Here are a few practical tips to help you break out of your comfort zone without triggering a full-on panic attack. First, if something makes you uncomfortable, do the mini version of it. Afraid to call someone? Don't call, send a voice message instead. Stage fright? Don't sign up for a public speaking course. Record a 30-second reel. Discomfort isn't something you demolish in one blow. You chip away at it, bit by bit, small bites, not giant leaps. Second, shake up your routine in tiny ways. Take a different route to work. Buy something you've never tried at the store. Sit in a new corner of your living room. Sounds silly, right? But your brain reads those micro changes as movement, as proof that you're progressing. And that builds confidence like compound interest. And finally, do this one exercise. On a blank sheet of paper, write this question: what am I avoiding out of fear? Then answer it. No filters, no sugarcoating, no justifications. Because the thing holding you back might not be the difficulty itself. It might just be your refusal to admit that you've been running away. Now pause. Take a moment and reflect. If today were your last shot at this opportunity, would you still choose comfort? Before you answer, remember what Seneca said: we don't dare to do many things because they are difficult. But they are difficult because we don't dare. So take the step. Even if your legs are shaking, even if your voice trembles, because forcing yourself to be better, second by second, doesn't mean you're fearless. It means you've made a choice to move forward despite the fear. And that, my friend, is what separates people who change from people who wait. Learn to fail with purpose. Let's be honest, most of us think that failing means we're not good enough. But what if I told you that failing, when done with purpose, could be the thing that gets you closest to the life you've always imagined? Let me tell you a story. For 15 years, a man locked himself in a workshop every single day to chase one idea. He wasn't some eccentric genius, not a celebrity inventor, just a guy obsessed with one thing: creating a vacuum cleaner that worked without a bag. Sounds simple, right? It wasn't. He tried once, failed, tried again, failed, and then again, and again, and again. Not 5 times, not 20, not even 50. Over 5,000 failed prototypes. 5,000 times he got it wrong. Tweaked something, started over, and failed again. Most people would have quit, but not him. Why? Because he understood something that many of us never learn. Every failed attempt wasn't a defeat. It was data. It was direction. It was refinement. He didn't say, "I'm useless." He said, "This isn't the way." Even when it hurt, even when it seemed hopeless, he kept going. That man was James Dyson. And thanks to every one of those failures, mistakes, that's what built it. Thanks to those 5,000 failures, millions of people around the world now use Dyson's products every day. None would have existed if he had taken failure as a sign to stop. But he didn't. He lived what Marcus Aurelius wrote centuries ago: what stands in the way becomes the way. Dyson didn't see failure as a dead end. He saw it as a compass, a directional signal, a map drawn in trial and error, showing where to go and where not to. That's what it means to fail with purpose. Not falling just for the sake of falling, but stumbling forward, using each mistake as a lever to get smarter, sharper, stronger. Now shift the lens. Look at yourself. Picture this: you're in a meeting presenting an idea in front of your bosses. You've been prepping for days. You've barely slept. You've revised your slides 20 times. You've rehearsed every sentence. The moment comes. You stand up. Your hands are sweating. Your voice slightly shakes. But you give it your all. You finish, thinking that went okay. I think it landed. Then silence. Not the good kind. The awkward, heavy kind. Someone finally says, "Thank you." Another adds, "It has potential, but it's not really solving the problem we need." And then maybe we can explore other directions. This one doesn't quite fit. And just like that, no yelling, no mockery, no dramatic rejection. But your idea quietly crashes. You smile, nod, and say, "Thanks for the feedback." But inside, you shrink. You walk out of the room feeling small. You start to question yourself. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I shouldn't have spoken up. Maybe that idea was ridiculous from the start. Do you know why your mind does that? Joe Hudson explains it well. What holds us back the most isn't the fear of failing, it's the fear of failing in front of others. The fear of being seen stumbling, of being exposed, of looking weak. But here's his advice: start treating failure like a trainable skill, just like athletes do. Just like anyone serious about growth does. Fail. Review. Learn. Adjust. Because if you're not failing, you're probably not even trying. Now you might be thinking, but how do I actually do that? Here's how. Start simple. Step 1. Write down your last failure. But don't dramatize it. Write it like a coach breaking down a game. What did you do well? What didn't work? What would you try differently next time? By putting it into words objectively, you distance yourself from your ego and walk closer toward growth. Step to create a failure museum. It could be a folder on your desktop, a notebook, a note on your phone, anywhere you can store your missteps. And next to each one, write down what you learned. Why? Because with time, when you flip through that record, you'll see something remarkable. You weren't falling apart. You were building. Every mistake, a brick, a foundation. You weren't lost. You were constructing a future. But above all, etch this into your mind: failure doesn't define you. Staying stuck does. The mistake isn't what traps you. It's choosing never to try again that seals the cage. Failure is like breaking a bone. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it knocks you off balance. Yes, it forces you to stop. But if you recover well, that bone heals stronger. That's how character works. That's how courage is forged. Force yourself to rise, not bitter, but bolder, with more clarity, more precision, more fire. Because when you fail with purpose, you're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience. And that, my friend, is where real transformation begins. Your routine is your future. You say you want to change your life, but you keep doing the same thing every single day. So listen closely. What you do today, it's not just a habit. It's a silent prediction. Every repeated action, every automatic decision is shaping the future you're heading toward. And no, I'm not talking about 20 years from now. I'm talking 1 year, 5 years, 10. Because your routine, my friend, isn't neutral. It's not harmless repetition. It's a formula, an equation. And if you repeat the same one every day, then deep down, you already know exactly where it's taking you. So stop. Really ask yourself, do you like what you're building? Because here's the truth: your dream life won't show up because you wish for it. It won't arrive because you said someday. It's built second by second by forcing yourself to be better every single day. Think of your routine like a recipe. If you throw in stale, mediocre ingredients every day, can you really expect a 5-star result at the end? If from the moment you wake up to the moment you collapse at night, you're just running on autopilot, no intention, no direction, no self-awareness, then no, you shouldn't be surprised when nothing in your life changes. Seneca said it best: it's not that we have little time, it's that we waste a lot of it. And we don't waste it on big, meaningful things. We lose it in the cracks, on the scrolling, on the distractions, on the just 5 more minutes. It happened to me too. There came a moment where I realized I was busy, yes, but I wasn't building. I felt like I was always moving, but never Forward. That's when I discovered Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist who breaks this all down not with fluff, but with science. He explains how the first hours of your day literally shape how your brain works for the rest of the day. Get sunlight early. Move your body. Do anything without a screen. These small actions regulate your dopamine, sharpen your focus, increase your energy. So I tried. Nothing big. I just started with 5 minutes of quiet breathing before I picked up my phone. That's it. And even that already made a difference. Why? Because I stopped reacting to the world and started creating my world. It was a tiny act, but it was intentional. And when you do a small, intentional act every single day, it carves out a new path in your brain and in your life. I'm sure it's happened to you too. You wake up unsure of what to do, and within 2 minutes you're drowning in notifications. You don't even know why you opened Instagram, but suddenly, it's been 10 minutes. You eat breakfast on autopilot. You don't nourish yourself, you just fill the void. And you say, today I start. Today I change. Every single day. But that today, it never arrives. Because deep down you're not designing your routine. You're just repeating the one that's always been there. So if you truly want to create something different, start with your routine. Because that's where everything is decided. That's where momentum is born. Where discipline is shaped. Where direction is chosen. Every second counts. You know it. So now what can you actually do? First, pick one single action you'll do every day before touching your phone. Just one. And it has to be for you. Read 2 pages of a book. Take 5 deep breaths. Write 1 sentence about how you feel. It doesn't have to be epic. It just has to be yours. Second, design a clear starting point for your day. Something that doesn't depend on how you feel, but tells your body we're in motion. It could be taking a shower in silence, preparing your breakfast slowly, with intention. Going for a 5-minute walk outdoors. What matters isn't how fancy it is. What matters is that your system signals the day has begun. And one more thing, try the calendar test. Look at your routine today and ask yourself, is this taking me where I want to go? Or is it just keeping you busy? Because doing a lot doesn't mean you're moving forward. And you're here watching this because deep down, you know you're capable of more. Not a life that just loops and repeats, but a life that builds you, shapes you, elevates you. So let me ask you something powerful. What if someone were following you today, taking notes, documenting every move, every habit, every hesitation, and turning it into your biography? Would you be proud of the life you're writing right now? Because that is your real story. And every moment, every small decision, is a sentence in the chapter called Today. But here's the beautiful part, you don't need permission to rewrite it. All you need is a pen. And that pen is your choices. Second by second, action by action, small shifts that shape big futures. So if you already know the first change you're ready to make, say it out loud. Better yet, write it in the comments. Because your idea, your intention might just be the spark someone else needs. Someone out there, watching in silence, still afraid to take that first step. And this community, we're here for each other. So write it, own it, and make it count. Don't believe everything you think, me friend. Let's get honest. Sometimes the real enemy isn't out there. It's in here. In your head. In those old voices that repeat the same tired lines day after day. You can't. You're not enough. You'll never make it. And the worst part, they sound just like you. They don't come with horns or warning signs. They whisper in your own voice. But listen closely. Just because you think something doesn't mean it's true. Your mind is powerful, but realistic. Not always. Sometimes it's creative. Sometimes it's chaotic. Sometimes it's dramatic. It's like having a pessimistic parrot sitting on your shoulder, one that squawks non-stop. You're going to fail. You're not smart enough. You're not strong enough. And after hearing it on repeat, you start to believe it. Because how could it be wrong if you've heard it for years? But here's the secret. That parrot knows nothing. It's just echoing old stories. Stories you were told. Stories you assumed. Stories you never questioned. And if you never pause to challenge those stories, they end up steering your life. You've probably heard of Nick Vujicic. He was born without arms or legs. Now imagine going through your teenage years like that, when all you want is to fit in, to feel normal. His mind told him over and over again, your life has no meaning. No one will ever love you. You'll never be independent. He fell into depression, even thought about ending his life. But one day he made a different choice. He didn't change his situation. He changed how he saw his situation. And that shift, it changed everything. Today, Nick is a global motivational speaker. He's written best-selling books. He has a wife, 4 children. And in one interview, he said, when you can't change your situation, change how you see it. That's what happens when we stop believing every thought that pops into our head. We create space between what we feel and who we are, between what we hear and what we choose. And yes, psychology backs this up. Dr. Ethan Kross, author of Chatter, The Voice in Our Head, has spent years studying how our inner voice, especially the negative one, holds us back more than any real external obstacle. His solution: mental distancing. It sounds strange at first, but it's powerful. When you're overwhelmed, don't say, "I can't handle this." Say, "How am I going to deal with this? Why does this work?" Because when you talk to yourself in the third person, you instantly reduce the emotional heat. You shift from being inside the storm to observing it. And when you do that, you stop melting into fear and start taking control. So here's your challenge: change this sentence, "That's just how I am," to something more honest. Sometimes I think this way, but I don't have to act on it. Because saying I'm insecure is not the same as saying sometimes I feel insecure. When you say it as a label, it locks you in. But when you say, "Sometimes I have insecure thoughts," it gives you something priceless: space. Space to breathe, space to move, space to respond differently even when your mind is trying to drag you back into old patterns. Here's another technique that helps the next time a negative thought shows up. Answer it like you would if it came from your best friend. If your friend said, "I'm not good enough. I'm never going to make it," would you agree with them? Or would you remind them of their worth? Tell them to keep going, to get back up? then do the same for yourself. Respond with compassion. Not fear, not silence. But don't think this is something you do once and check off your list. This is daily work, a mental discipline. Just like training your body, you have to train your mind. Because those old voices, they won't vanish on their own. You have to out-practice them. Think of thoughts like clouds. Some are heavy, some are dark, some rush past, others just linger. But clouds are not the sky. You are the sky, steady, expansive, always there even when it's stormy. Epictetus understood this deeply. He couldn't control what popped into his mind, but he could choose whether to let it take over. Do the same. Don't identify with the storm. Let it pass. Obey the plan, not the laziness. How many times have you heard this? Laziness won't get you anywhere. And yet each time someone says it, you probably nod and think, yeah, I know. And then you stay exactly where you are. Waiting for the perfect moment, for that surge of motivation, for the magical day when you'll wake up bursting with energy, finally ready to change everything. But let me tell you the truth, that day, it's not coming. Because if you're waiting to feel like it before you do what you know needs to be done, you'll be waiting your entire life. There's a scene in the film Whiplash I'll never forget. Not because of the blood, not the screaming, not the pressure, but because of what it symbolizes. Andrew, the main character, sits alone at his drum set. He could go home. No one's watching. No one's judging. No one's expecting anything. But he stays. He repeats the same exercise again and again and again. He messes up. He gets frustrated. But he doesn't stop. Why? Because he got it. He understood the truth most people never do. If you only practice when you feel like it, you'll never go far. He didn't obey his mood. He obeyed the plan. And you don't have to be a musician to understand this. You just have to ask yourself, how many times have you skipped what mattered just because you didn't feel like it? How many times have you betrayed your goal for 5 more minutes under the blanket? Andrew didn't stay because he was superhuman. He stayed because he was committed. He chose to act like the professional he wanted to become long before he actually felt like one. And if you haven't seen the movie, watch it. But don't just watch it as a story about music. Watch it as a mirror. Because it'll show you the truth we all try to ignore. Your success does not depend on talent. It depends on what you do when no one's watching, when no one's clapping. I'm sure this has happened to you, too. You set your alarm for 7 a.m. so you can go for a run. But when it rings, your mind begins its political campaign. It promises, just rest today. You'll have more energy tomorrow. Spoiler, tomorrow, it'll say the exact same thing. Or you say, I'll skip training today, but tomorrow I'll go twice as hard. You already know how that ends. If you're lucky, you end up watching reels of people actually doing it. Picture Marcus Aurelius standing next to you. In that exact moment, what would he do? Would he let laziness win? This was a man who ruled an empire, who barely slept yet woke up in the early hours, not to bask in luxury, but to write his meditations. He was exhausted. He was burdened with unimaginable power, and still he never let Comfort distracted him from his principles. Marcus didn't act based on how he felt. He acted because he understood if you let your emotions decide, you become their slave. And I'm not the only one saying it. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, puts it simply: motivation is overrated. What matters isn't how fired up you feel. What matters is having a clear system, a structure that tells you what to do and when. And then you do it. Not think about it, not debate it, not negotiate. You execute. He calls this the silent identity. You act like the person you want to become, even when you don't feel like that person yet. Because habit builds identity, not the other way around. So if you're truly ready to stop obeying your laziness and start obeying your plan, here are a few things that will help. First, grab a pen and paper. Design your routine like you're an elite athlete. Seriously, what time do you wake up? What's the first thing you do? What small ritual marks the beginning of your day? When your plan is written out, it becomes clear. It removes the mental debate. You're not asking yourself what to do. You're telling yourself. Second, set an alarm with a personalized message. But don't write, "Wake up," write something. Your Stoic self would say something like, "Don't ask, just do." Let that disciplined voice interrupt the lazy one, the one that always promises you more energy tomorrow. And finally, picture your day like a staircase. Every action, no matter how small, takes you one step up. But if you stay on the couch, mindlessly scrolling, convincing yourself it's rest, you're not pausing, you're sliding backward. And you know it. Yes, there will be days when you don't feel like it. That's normal. But you don't need to feel like it. What you need is a solid, unshakable decision. Because when you obey your discipline, not your mood, you're building a life your future self will look back on with pride. So now I ask you, my friend, tomorrow morning, which voice will you obey? The one that whispers comfort, or the one that pulls you toward the strongest version of yourself? Who are you comparing yourself to? Tap, tap, tap. Every morning, the sound of the deer's hooves echoed over the stones near the lake. He was fast, graceful, agile. He loved the wind brushing past as he sprinted, loved seeing his reflection in the water, proud of the strength in his stride. But everything changed the day he noticed a chameleon perched silently on a rock. The tiny creature shifted colors with magical precision. Green, gray, brown. It blended effortlessly, adapted to everything. The deer watched, mesmerized, and slowly a dark thought crept in. All I can do is run. He can transform. I'm useless. From that day on, every time he saw another animal, he felt smaller. The beaver built impressive dams. The owl knew everything. The fox was clever. So the deer stopped running. He stopped going to the lake, stopped looking at himself, until one day the chameleon asked, "Aren't you running through the forest anymore?" The deer, head down, whispered, "What for? You all have gifts. All I have are legs." And without changing color, the chameleon looked him straight in the eye and spoke the truth. You're the only one who stopped doing what he loved, not because he was worthless, but because he spent too much of his life looking around instead of remembering who he already was. And from that moment on, the deer stopped comparing. He stopped apologizing. He stopped watching. He started running again. Now take a hard look at yourself. How many times have you held back just because you looked around and convinced yourself you weren't enough? How many times did you see someone else moving ahead and thought, why even bother? The worst part about comparison isn't that it makes you feel small. It's that it makes you forget who you are. And when you forget who you are, you stop moving. Seneca had already made this painfully clear. True happiness comes from self-sufficiency. Sounds beautiful in a book. Much harder to believe when you open social media, when someone is posting beach photos, smiling ear to ear, crushing goals, launching businesses, and you're sitting there in pajamas with a cold cup of coffee, wondering if you're falling behind. But what you don't see are their bad days, their doubts, the breakdowns, the mistakes they didn't post, the hours no one clapped for. You're comparing your entire life to their highlight reel. Best angle, best lighting, best filter. Did you know? Comparison can kill your motivation even if you're doing well. It sounds strange, but it's scientifically true. Psychologist Thomas Musweiler from the University of Cologne studied this and discovered something fascinating. You compare yourself to someone far beyond your current reality, your drive shuts down. But when you compare yourself to your past self, your motivation skyrockets. That's the key. Don't look sideways. Look backward at you. Not at your neighbor. Not at the influencer. Not at the polished stranger on your screen. Look at you. A month ago. A year ago. That version of yourself that is your true rival. So if you really want to stop sabotaging your growth with useless comparisons, here are a few things you can start doing right now. 1. Start a journal of personal wins. They don't need to be huge. You went for a walk today. Write it down. You said no to something you didn't want to do. That's a win. You finished a book. That's a victory. Track your progress. Celebrate your own story, because without reminders, we forget how far we've come. 2. If you're a visual person, document your progress. Take photos of your workouts. Track your reading with a chart. Record the number of days you stayed consistent. Not to prove anything to anyone, but to remind yourself you are moving. 3. Set goals that actually belong to you, not goals you picked up online, not trends disguised as dreams. Ask yourself, do I really want to move to another city? Or do I just think I should because everyone else seems happy traveling? Do I really want to start a business? Or is it just a shiny, trending goal? Filter your desires through your values, not through the noise around you. 4. Limit your time online, not as a punishment, but as protection. Because when you're constantly looking outward, you lose your connection to what's within. And with the time, you get back to something that builds you. Learn a new skill. Go for a walk without your phone. Have a deep conversation, no screens allowed. Because no one grows through comparison. You grow when you act. Forcing yourself to be better second by second is not about winning against others. It's about ending the competition entirely. It's about reclaiming your voice. The one you lost between likes, reels, and other people's highlight reels. So next time you feel small because you looked sideways, shift direction. Look inward. Then look back at how far you've come. and finally look forward. Because at the end of the day, only one thing really matters: so you're a little better today than you were yesterday. If the answer is yes, then you're already winning. Because that means you're building something no one can take away from you, your own path. Your environment lifts you or drowns you, my friend. I'm going to ask you something hard. Have you really stopped to think about the people you're surrounded by? Who do you spend the most time with? Who do you talk to every day? Who do you listen to? What kind of phrases are echoing in your life on repeat without you even noticing? Because here's the truth: the voices around you, they're either fuel or they're mud. The people you see daily, the ones you joke with, text, eat lunch with, they're not neutral. They either lift you up or slowly pull you down. And the scariest part, most of the time you don't even realize it, because you get used to it, used to the constant complaining, the low expectations, the don't risk it, just play it safe. And without even noticing, you start dimming your own fire just to fit in. Take the story of Muhammad Ali, not the boxer, but a young Iraqi boy born into a war zone. His childhood was surrounded by ruins, fear, explosions. Where many kids played at dodging bombs, he played at training. No luxuries, no promises, no safety net. But his family gave him something priceless: a strong, quiet circle that reminded him every day you can become something, but only if you train like a professional. And he did. Today, he's one of the top young talents in Asian football. When asked how he escaped the chaos, he said it simply: my friends didn't play with bombs. They played at training like pros. You see it now, right? It wasn't luck. It wasn't magic. It was his environment. That circle of influence. Because what surrounds you sticks to you. There are studies that show your closest environment determines up to 70% of your personal and professional success. It's not superstition. It's exposure. Now picture yourself like a hot air balloon. Inside you there's fire, motivation, energy, the will to rise. But if you're weighed down with sandbags, no matter how much heat you produce, you'll never get off the ground. Your environment is those sandbags. And if you don't release the ones that are too heavy, the ones filled with judgment, sarcasm, self-doubt, you'll stay stuck. Have you felt this? You decide to eat better, to take care of yourself, to change. Suddenly, people around you shift. Come on, one day won't kill you. You used to be more fun. You're getting boring. They laugh. They tempt. They pull you back. And to keep the peace, you give in. But at what cost? At the cost of your own progress. In trying not to make others uncomfortable, you betray your own growth. But if you've made it this far in this video, it means you're serious. It means you want to force yourself to be better second by second. So now it's time for a hard look at what and who is around you. Step 1. Do the energy scan. Think of the 3 people you interact with most each week. Do they inspire you or drain you? Do they encourage your growth or act like you're too intense every time you try something new? This isn't about cutting people off with cruelty. It's about calibrating your energy. Maybe you have to see them, but you get to decide how much you listen, how much time you give, who gets a seat at the table of your mind. Step 2. Redefine your environment. Because it's not just people. It's also the content you consume. What are you watching? What are you listening to? What are you reading, scrolling, absorbing? Surrounding yourself with content that pushes you forward? Are you feeding your mind with videos that challenge your comfort? Books that expand your thinking? Podcasts that stretch your worldview? Or is it just noise? Memes, drama, distractions? Because whether you realize it or not, your environment feeds you. And over time, what you consume becomes what you create. Remember what Seneca said. Avoid the company of those who do not better you. He didn't say that to sound superior. He said it because he understood that the soul is shaped by imitation. That what you see every day becomes part of you. So now I want to hear from you. Who is surrounding you? Is your environment pushing you forward or pulling you back? Drop it in the comments. Not just to reflect, but because maybe your story will be the spark for someone else. Sometimes just reading someone else's realization is what helps us take a long, honest look at our own circle and maybe let go of the weight we've been dragging for far too long. And keep watching, because what comes next, it's the most important part of all. Because it doesn't matter how disciplined your routine is, how inspiring your friends are, how many excuses you've conquered if you don't do this next thing. None of it lasts. This is where it all gets real. This is where you decide whether you're going to grow every second or keep waiting for someday. Celebrate, breathe, and keep going. Sometimes, my friend, we get so obsessed with moving forward that we forget why we even started. You keep ticking boxes, crushing goals, following routines, and you don't even realize it, but you've turned into a machine. No breath, no breaks, no joy. Just hustle. And then one day you wonder why you're so exhausted, why your fire is dimming, why it suddenly feels so hard to keep going. The answer is simply you never gave yourself permission to celebrate. To pause, to smile, to appreciate how far you've already come. Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully: the art of living is more like wrestling than dancing. It demands readiness and strength against the unexpected. But even a fighter needs to breathe, needs time to heal, to recover, to savor a win no matter how small. Living isn't about throwing punches without rest. You are allowed to pause, to be proud, to feel joy. That's exactly what happened to me. When I started this project, I was obsessed with momentum, always pushing, creating, improving, until one day, my partner looked at me and asked, "What's the point of trying so hard if you never feel any joy?" That question, it hit me like a wave of cold water. Because they were right. I was so focused on the next step that I never celebrated the ones I'd already taken. And this isn't just some fluffy emotional advice. It's backed by science. Dr. Kristin Neff, one of the world's leading researchers on self-compassion, has shown that people who celebrate their small wins and treat themselves kindly are more consistent in their progress than those who just push harder. Why? Because self-compassion isn't weakness. It's emotional fuel. It's what helps you get back up each day without breaking on the inside. Let me show you with something simple. Say, you've been waking up early and sticking to your morning Routine for 5 days straight. Yeah, that same routine we built together a few sections back. Something that once felt impossible, and now you're doing it. But instead of acknowledging that effort, you shrug and say, whatever. It's just what I'm supposed to do. And just like that, the impact vanishes. The motivation fades. The power of your effort gone. Didn't deserve a single clap. As if becoming better, second by second, doesn't count unless it turns into something huge. But today, I want to offer you something different. A small, quiet challenge. At the end of each week, write down 3 things you did well. They don't need to be life-changing. You drank enough water. You had that difficult conversation. You gave 10 more minutes to that habit you're building. Write them down. Read them back. Remind yourself you are moving forward. And try this. Give your day a closing word, a small ritual. When you turn off the light, say something like, today I made progress, or today I gave it my all. It might sound simple, maybe even silly, but it marks your day with purpose. It reminds you you're on your path. And yes, give yourself something. Seriously, a concrete reward for completing a week of discipline. It doesn't have to be huge. A peaceful walk by yourself, a meal you truly enjoy, an afternoon with no pressure. Something your brain can link to this thought. I earned this because I stayed consistent. That emotional anchor, it's the key to keeping your system alive long term. Because no, you're not a machine. You're a work in progress. And every brick you lay matters. But if you never celebrate the home you're building, you'll never feel like you belong in it. So celebrate, breathe, and then keep going. Because forcing yourself to be better every second isn't about crushing yourself under pressure. It's about moving forward with awareness. Knowing that yes, you are pushing yourself, but you're also honoring your effort. That this is not just about reaching the goal, but about respecting the process. So today, right now, pause. Look at yourself and give yourself the credit you deserve. Because you're doing well. And there's still so much more to build. Stopping the hesitation. Taking back control. Forcing yourself to grow. Second by second, that is the real revolution. You don't need magical motivation. You need brave decisions. Every small act of discipline is a brick. Every excuse you break is a door that opens. You're not here to live life on pause. You're here to build yourself. To move forward even when no one is watching. Because the life you dream of doesn't arrive all at once. It's earned. Second by second. Every time you choose not to give up. If you've made it this far, make it clear in the comments. I don't stop. I get better every second. That's how I'll know who the true Stoic warriors are, the ones who made it to the very end. And don't forget, subscribe. Hit the notification bell and give this video a like so you don't miss what's coming next. We've also created a playlist you'll see on screen packed with ideas, stories, and advice to help you navigate life with more wisdom and confidence. Click it and let's keep moving forward together. Until next time, take care. And keep embracing your inner Stoic.